our next segment of the Great Radiothon here on The Great Give at WNHH 103.5 FM. Welcome to, is it Mr. Liam Brennan?
Yes, hello.
Hi there. Thank you for coming on. And you are with the Connecticut Veterans Legal Center.
Yes.
So tell us about the organization, and because you're a bit new to me, obviously it's a veterans organization. Focus in for us, and as you do, what's a good? Should people go to thegreatgive.org, or is there your own website address?
Yes, we are on thegreatgive.org, and hope everyone goes there and donates to CVLC. Particularly, we're trying to go for the early bird prize. If you are up between 8 and 9 tomorrow, that would be an ideal time to make a donation. We also, though, at this time also generally host an annual fundraiser, a bike ride that usually launches from Stamford and goes through Fairfield and Westchester counties. This year we've gone virtual. So if you don't make the Great Give by this year, you can still go to the Ride for Our Vets. It's at you can find it at ctveteranslegal.org. There's a link to the ride page there, and you can make a donation there as well. Or become a rider yourself and do a virtual ride in solidarity with other riders around the state and around the country.
How many years has the ride been going on? And how old is the organization?
So the organization just turned 10 last year. We celebrated a decade. The ride has been going on for at least 6 years, I believe, maybe more. I don't know exactly when it started. It might have started in 2012, 2013, around there. So we were started when our founder, Margaret Middleton, she was a young attorney who was doing a fellowship at the offices of David Rosen, an attorney here in New Haven. And, David Rosen is a civil rights attorney who does a lot of interesting and creative impact litigation work and civil rights work. And he has these fellows, these young attorneys who come on and work with him for a year or 2 years or 3. And they have a portfolio of working on his cases and opening their own. And she was very interested in mental health issues. And she had read about mental health issues at the VA. And she asked them if she could take some time to approach the VA about some of what she had been reading about. And she went to the VA in West Haven, where they had a very innovative community care center, which the idea was to take veterans who were in recovery from homelessness and mental illness, often substance abuse, out of a hospital setting and meet them where they lived in a community care setting. And so when she got there to talk about her issues, she was confronted by the director of the center and a volunteer attorney who was working there at the time. And they said, if you really care about these issues and you want to help out, we provide a whole host of services here, but the one thing we don't provide are legal services for veterans. And we think this could make a huge difference. And they prevailed upon her and convinced her to start providing free legal services at the Community Care Center in West Haven. And that is how CVLC was born.
And where is the headquarters now? And what's the what do you call it? The catchment area. You serve vets in what areas?
Sure. We are statewide in terms of our catchment area.
Just Connecticut.
Just Connecticut. We also do like advocacy and policy work on a national level, but we don't take individual cases from beyond Connecticut at this point.
And it's all it's the legal aspect that you take on.
Yes. So our mission is to help veterans recovering from mental illness and homelessness overcome the legal barriers to housing, healthcare, and income. And so what we do is we work in a medical legal partnership with clinicians at the VA. So you'll have a VA clinician, either a doctor, a social worker, psychologist, a nurse, see one of the veterans who's in recovery and see that they are facing a legal issue. Maybe it's a credit issue, maybe it's a housing issue, and they will write them a referral to us to handle that issue. And then they will send them to us and we will take on the legal side of their case.
So Liam, you folks at it's ctveteranslegal.org. That's the place to send the moolah to support. But you get all your the folks that are referred to you through the VA.
That is mainly how our structure works. So the majority of our clients come in through there. We also do have some cold calls as well. But we ask all the cold calls that are coming in if we think they have the potential for an actual case to first go to the VA and get connected with healthcare as well. So we want to, our idea is getting people access to housing, healthcare, and income. And so we want them, if they're struggling with homelessness or mental illness, to be connected to VA and then get the referral into us. We work as well with Columbus House and the Connecticut State Department of Veterans Affairs. So we will also take referrals from them as well. So Columbus House has a number of veterans who are staying with them. They will see one that has a legal issue. They'll send their own referral to us. And same thing with the State Department of Veterans Affairs.
How many vets do you work with in the course of a year, or how do you calculate these things?
Last year, we handled the cases for approximately 600 veterans, I believe. Oh. Some were ongoing, some were new. Overall, we've handled about cases for over 3,000 veterans.
And when you talk about handling a case, does that necessarily mean you go to court, or you resolve things outside of court with a landlord, or with, I guess you must have also issues with discharges and things like that.
Thank you so much. Yes. So a number of cases are handled outside of court. Ideally, if we can work out an agreement with the landlord that helps someone transition and not have to go to court, that's the best resolution for everyone. It can be best for the landlord, best for us. And so we try to do that. But one thing, so in that aspect, though, we handle your ordinary cases that you would see at any legal aid, like evictions, like credit issues. But as you alluded to, there are certain veteran-specific law areas that aren't handled by other legal aids in Connecticut, and we take on those. And those involve discharges or access to VA healthcare. So we have a VA benefits unit, so that helps people get access to VA benefits, disability income, service connection for a disability that occurred while they were or related to their service, characterization of their discharge. So they were discharged with something that was not honorable. And usually, if you have an honorable or a general discharge, you can get access to healthcare presumptively. But if you have what's called an other than honorable discharge, you have to prove that you should get access to healthcare and you're honorable for VA purposes. So we will take on those cases in instances. Usually, that's instances of mental illness, and so that's where it really helps to have a lawyer assemble the proof and make the case that the mental illness that somebody was suffering from is related to the discharge that they received, and that really they should get access to VA healthcare for whatever's ailing them. And then additionally, we do what's called discharge upgrade cases, which outside the VA, this is with the Department of Defense, changes their actual discharge from either an other than honorable or a general or a bad conduct to an honorable or general, so that they can get access to healthcare, they can get higher employment, access to VA benefits.
We're talking to Liam Brennan here on WNHH 103.5 FM on the Great Give Radiothon. And if you want to support the Connecticut Veterans Legal Center, you go to CT Veterans, and you have to make sure the S is there.
That's right.
Veteran, which I'm underlining. CT Veterans legal.org, or go to thegreatgive.org. Liam, how many of those? What's the degree of difficulty or the success rate getting an other than honorable discharge upgraded? Is that a tough legal road to travel, or is it a question of almost getting all the materials in order and then it happens?
It really depends on the case. It can be a very tough legal road to travel, depending on the case. What we do is we have two in-staff attorneys who do discharge upgrade cases. Margaret Kuzma, who's our director of discharge upgrade, and Millie Vandenbroek. They're amazing attorneys and they do fantastic work. But then we have this great resource of a number of attorneys at private firms who've agreed to take on pro bono cases. We tend to take cases that are a little clearer, or where there's a lower threshold of mental illness, to the pro bonos, and those tend to have a little higher rate because you can prove the case a little better. The facts are maybe a little more straightforward. And then we handle ones that are more highly intensive or the client needs more hands-on attention. And so in cases of mental illness, there's a need to connect the mental illness to the behavior that maybe resulted in an other than honorable discharge or a bad conduct. We have taken on bad conduct discharges, which is level down as well, and got them upgraded.
Right.
So it can be done. People go through all sorts of trauma that results in the illnesses that they face. A lot of our clients have faced military sexual conduct. There's obviously combat-induced PTSD. With the right facts and collecting the right evidence, it can be done. We have a very good over 60% success rate, which compared to general DUs, their general discharge upgrades, is really high.
Right.
And so, our attorneys are very dedicated to this work, and the results for a client are huge. I mean, if you can get someone access to healthcare and a lifetime of healthcare, that
Right.
can be a huge difference between living, in poverty or living sustainably. And so being able to take that financial burden off somebody really can change the course of their financial trajectory in life. And so that's something that we think is a huge game changer in this type of law.
And how much of the law concerns making the case for, let's say, PTSD? Does that continue to be an issue? And how does that relate to one's qualifying for disability, for example?
It still continues to be a huge issue. The Department of Defense has moved incredibly in this direction over the last few years, starting with a few secretaries of defense ago. Chuck Hagel introduced the first memo where he started to order the whole Department of Defense to give liberal consideration for claims involving PTSD to anyone who's applying for a discharge upgrade. And since then, there's been a subsequent 2 iterations of guidance to help veterans who are suffering from PTSD, traumatic brain injury, military sexual trauma, to make their case and prove it to the Department of Defense to get their discharges changed.
Right.
That's opened the door greatly for veterans who are seeking access to justice. One thing we found is applying it can be tough. Not everybody, on the boards who review these applications are attorneys, and so they don't always understand the standards.
Right.
And sometimes the standards can change quickly. We just had a case in federal court where we had a veteran who came in. He was a Gulf War veteran. He suffered PTSD during Gulf War. He applied to get from an other than honorable to an honorable. The Department of Defense said, yes, we recognize his PTSD, but we're only going to give him upgrade to a general. Now that's great. That can get him access to healthcare, but to really clear his record, to help him with employment, to get him access to other VA benefits, an honorable would be what he wanted. And so we appealed to federal court. When we did this, what we discovered was that one of the memos that came out in the intervening time, it had come out before the board met to hear his case, but they didn't read it before hearing his case. They didn't apply it to his case. Then they issued their decision months later, but they still didn't take into account our supplemental briefing on the new policies that came out. And so they took none of these new regulations into account in judging his case. And so that's why the standards that they applied were unclear, and we thought didn't meet the threshold that they needed, that we thought we met them. We didn't think they applied them correctly. And so recently we got that remanded back to the Department of Defense, and they are ordered to reconsider that. And so this changing area of the law is hard for them. We understand that sometimes it's difficult to adapt to new standards, but we think the way the legal movement is going, it's a great direction that it's moving in for veterans who are suffering from PTSD and mental health. But we think there's more room.
And is your organization, the Connecticut Veterans Legal, ctveteranslegal.org, that's the group that you want to send your contributions to? Are you unique? Is there an organization like yours in every state, or how did Margaret? By the way, how is Margaret?
Margaret's doing well. She's doing great.
Tell her hi for me.
I will. I will.
From the early days of the New Haven Independent.
Oh, great! I'll tell her hi.
Yeah, please do. But did you did she and the rest of you pioneer a model here, or tell me about that. Tell us about
Sure. So yes, she did pioneer a model here. This was the first medical legal partnership with the legal aid and the VA in the country 10 years ago. Since then, there are now over 30 throughout the country medical legal partnerships where free legal services are provided in partnership with the VA around the country. We are still independent and unique. Some of those are at specific legal aid organizations that pre-existed. Some are at law schools that are running Veterans Clinic in a partnership with the VA. But this has been a great move towards medical legal partnerships with the VA since CVLC was founded. We do find that across the country, there is a need for resources for legal aids who want to do this work or attorneys who want to do this work to be able to do it. And so one of the things we have been doing, while we haven't like planted new organizations in other locations, with this, our next few years in our strategic plan, it's within our plan to assist other legal aid organizations in doing this sort of work, because we do find the return is great. I mean, for every dollar that we are able to receive at CVLC, we're able to acquire approximately $15 in increased income, housing, healthcare, or reduced debt to a veteran in need. So the return on investment is fantastic when you're thinking of what you can do for potential clients. So to the extent that we can help other legal aid organizations or pro bono attorneys to do this work, that's something we are very interested in doing in the future.
Well, Liam Brennan, it's been really a learning experience talking to you about the CVLC, the Connecticut Veterans Legal Center, and do go to what is it, ctveteranslegal.org or thegreatgive.org, and send your contributions to an organization where there's a great need and a model organization. And is there anything we missed? We have to sign off here at WNHH 103.5 FM to move on to our next segment. But is there something else you'd want to say before we say goodbye?
Just want to say thank you so much for having us on. And if anybody out there wants to participate in the ride as a virtual rider, June 13th, we're going to have a ride across Connecticut and the country. You can sign up at our website, and we'd love to have you on board. Thank you.
All right. So lawyers, writers, everybody, and contributors of monetary resources, ctveteranslegal.org. Thank you, Liam. And
thank you so much.
See you on the ride.
All right. Sounds great.